Dick Van Patten as Tom Bradford. For those who never followed American television in the 1970s, imagine the ideal father, patient, humorous, and always present when his children needed him. That was Tom Bradford in the classic series 8 is Enough. Dick Van Patten poured his own warmth into the role, transforming Tom into America's beloved everyday father. With his salt and pepper hair and kind, reassuring smile, he was not merely acting. He was creating a symbol of peace and family happiness for millions of households during a turbulent era. Yet few realized that behind that radiant on-screen smile lay a childhood that had been quietly stolen, along with overwhelming psychological pressure. Entering show business at just 7 years old on Broadway, Dick was denied a carefree youth. Instead, growing up under strict discipline and crushing family expectations. Tragedy followed him into middle age when he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. For years on the set of 8 is Enough, while Tom Bradford enjoyed warm family dinners on screen, Dick slipped away into corners to inject insulin, battling dizziness caused by dangerously low blood sugar. He kept this struggle hidden, fearing that the image of an ailing father would shatter the dream of happiness audiences so deeply cherished. That loneliness only deepened as he watched his on-screen children, such as Lani O'Grady and Adam Rich, gradually collapse under addiction, leaving him haunted by the helpless guilt of a spiritual father unable to save them from reality.
Well, now, you're not leaning on them, are you, to get them out here?
Why would I do that?
Well, my birthday's coming up and...
Decades of accumulated pressure ultimately erupted into the harshest tragedies of his later years. In January 2006, a stroke caused by diabetic complications shocked Hollywood, signaling the fall of a towering figure. What followed was a long, painful journey marked by physical decline and quiet humiliation for a man known for his dignity and professionalism. His body weakened, diabetic wounds refused to heal, and even walking became an ordeal. By the final days of June 2015, at St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, the father figure once so strong was reduced to a frail elderly man, struggling for each breath amid devastating cardiovascular complications. On June 23, 2015, Dick Van Patten passed away at the age of 86, leaving behind his wife Patricia, his partner of more than 60 years, in profound emptiness. It is heartbreaking to reflect that a man who spent his life pursuing the ideal of family perfection ultimately left this world tormented by illness, leaving a void no film or memory could ever fully fill. Though his body has faded to dust, the image of Tom Bradford, the gentle, compassionate father, remains an enduring flame in the hearts of generations of fans. Diana Hyland as Joan Bradford. Though she appeared only briefly in the first 4 episodes of 8 is Enough, Diana Hyland left an indelible mark on viewers through her role as Joan Bradford, the gentle mother and emotional anchor of the entire family. With her graceful beauty and eyes filled with quiet empathy, she conveyed the warmth of a truly complete home. Even before her storyline had fully unfolded, her tenderness had already become a defining standard for the image of the devoted family woman on late 1970s television. Behind a career that seemed to be rising effortlessly, Diana's private life was marked by a painful contrast between late-found happiness and the cruelty of fate. After her marriage to Joe Goodson ended in 1974, she raised her young son, Zachary, alone, carrying the weight of loneliness and financial strain. Tragedy quietly took root when she met and fell in love with a much younger actor, John Travolta, on the set of The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Despite an 18-year age gap and the relentless whispers of Hollywood gossip, they shared a sincere and deeply felt love. Yet just as Diana seemed to find her long-awaited refuge, devastating news arrived. She was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer. Throughout the filming of the early episodes of 8 is Enough, she endured searing pain in her chest, masking the pallor left by chemotherapy with makeup, determined to finish her role and secure a future for her young child. The true nightmare began when the cancer spread rapidly, extinguishing her final hopes. Just 12 days after the series premiered, Diana's condition became critical. The final days of March 1977 remain a haunting memory for those who witnessed them. In a Los Angeles hospital, the once radiant actress was reduced to a frail figure, her breath faltering as malignant tumors overtook her body. On March 27, 1977, Diana Hyland passed away in John Travolta's arms at the age of 41, an age when a woman's life is often at its brightest. Her sudden death not only forced the series to rewrite her character's fate, but also left an unhealed wound in the hearts of her 4-year-old son and her young partner. The bitterness is profound. Just as Joan Bradford's light began to shine on television screens, Diana's own flame was extinguished in pain and separation. Diana Hyland left this world with so many dreams unfinished, yet her devotion to her craft and the depth of love she gave remain undeniable. Even as time passes, the image of Joan Bradford, her gentle smile filled with compassion, continues to live as part of the soul of Eight is Enough. She lived a life that was tragically short, yet brilliantly luminous, teaching us the enduring power of love in the face of adversity. Let us offer a quiet prayer, wishing her soul eternal peace in heaven. The marriage to a husband 18 years younger quickly became the center of intense public debate at the time. Some believed that in love, age is no barrier, as long as two people come together with genuine sincerity and true emotional understanding. Others, however, held a more skeptical view, arguing that such a relationship was difficult to separate from personal calculations, especially when fame, career ambitions, and social standing in Hollywood may have played a significant role. So what do you believe was the truth behind this marriage? Was it a love that transcended all boundaries, or a choice shaped by practical motives? Which perspective do you agree with? Comment 1 if you agree, 0 if you don't. Adam Rich as Nicholas Bradford. If there were one face that truly embodied the innocence and charm of 1970s American television, it would be Adam Rich. As Nicholas Bradford, the youngest son with his signature bowl haircut and bright, mischievous eyes, Adam captured the hearts of millions from the moment he appeared on screen at just 8 years old. He was not merely a child actor, but America's beloved little brother, bringing pure laughter and tender childlike moments that made viewers instinctively want to protect and cherish him.
You know, he's the greatest. He's practically a superstar.
Whatever.
Yet behind the glitter of fame lay a harsh reality, as young Adam was forced to grow up far too quickly under the weight of expectation. His early success became a glass cage that trapped his childhood, leaving him unable to adjust to ordinary life once the spotlight faded. Tragedy quietly took root at age 14, when he first turned to marijuana to numb a growing sense of emptiness. By 17, instead of enjoying his youth, Adam had dropped out of school and slipped deeper into substance abuse. In 1989, the world was stunned to learn that little Nicholas had nearly lost his life after a Valium overdose. The pressure to maintain a wholesome image, combined with an obsession over lost fame, pulled Adam into a destructive spiral. The breaking point came in April 1991, when he was arrested after smashing the window of a Northridge pharmacy to steal sedatives, an incident that shattered the image of America's little brother in the public eye. The final chapter of Adam Rich's life was a lonely and desperate struggle against depression and long-standing addiction. Despite repeated attempts at recovery, and even a period in which he claimed 7 years of sobriety, the shadows of the past never fully released their grip on him. The most devastating tragedy occurred on January 7, 2023, inside his Los Angeles apartment. Adam was found dead, alone, with no loved ones by his side. An autopsy report from the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner later confirmed a cruel truth. He died from fentanyl toxicity caused by an overdose of the powerful opioid. His death at 54 marked a heartbreaking end to a talent once celebrated as a national treasure. It is deeply painful to realize that the boy who once warmed millions of hearts with his innocence ultimately lost his life to a dark medication accident, alone in a cold room within the City of Angels. Though his real life was marked by scars and mistakes, in the hearts of viewers, Nicholas Bradford, with his unmistakable bowl haircut, will forever remain a symbol of a cherished era of nostalgia. Adam Rich's true legacy lies in the joy he gave the world, a timeless beauty that no shadow of addiction can ever erase. Leave a white rose in the comments to say farewell to the little brother who once belonged to us all. Susan Richardson as Susan Bradford. With her flowing blonde hair and ever-present smile, Susan Richardson became the film's muse in the role of Susan Bradford. She brought a fresh vitality to the series, embodying the confidence and aspirations of America's younger generation in the late 1970s.
Come on, Nicholas, we gotta go.
Next time you're there, stop by the dugout and say hi.
Okay.
Nicholas.
Audiences didn't just admire her on screen. They saw her as a rare symbol of good fortune, where real life and fiction seemed to merge. At the height of the show's success, Susan married and became pregnant, and that happiness was written directly into the script, shared openly with millions of devoted viewers. Yet that same goodwill quietly led her into a tragedy that would stretch across decades. After giving birth to her daughter Sarah in 1980, Susan faced brutal pressure from Hollywood producers when she gained nearly 90 pounds. Terrified of losing roles in an industry obsessed with appearance, she made a life-altering mistake, turning to cocaine as a so-called miracle cure for rapid weight loss. Addiction ravaged her nervous system and, once the series ended, brought her career to a complete collapse. By the late 1980s, Susan was living in a state of fear and mental instability, even making a shocking claim that she had been kidnapped in South Korea, a story many later believed was the result of severe psychological breakdown and prolonged hallucinations. The true peak of her tragedy was not scandal, but the crushing reality of poverty and illness. In 2013, the public was stunned when reporters found Susan living in a dilapidated trailer in Wagontown, Pennsylvania. During the freezing winter months, she survived without heat or clean water, relying solely on minimal disability benefits. The radiant Susan Bradford audiences once adored had been replaced by a frail woman who had lost all her teeth due to complications from diabetes and severe gastrointestinal disease. She revealed that she had suffered 3 strokes and was living in complete isolation, long forgotten by Hollywood's fading spotlight. In her later years, Susan Richardson was no longer a star. She was a broken soul, struggling day by day to survive amid the ruins of her own life, a dark and bitter ending few could ever have imagined. Though Susan Richardson's real life was buried under poverty and painful mistakes, in the hearts of viewers, she remains forever the vibrant Susan Bradford of television's golden years. Her story stands as a sobering lesson about the cost of fame and the invisible pressures artists are forced to endure. May she find peace of mind after a lifetime of storms. Dennis Patrick as Senator Ned Atkins. If one face were to represent authority and gravitas in 8 is Enough, audiences would immediately recall Dennis Patrick in the role of Senator Ned Atkins. With his deep, resonant voice, composed demeanor, and the piercing gaze of a seasoned statesman, he brought a layer of political tension and sophistication to the Bradford family's story. Dennis did more than portray a public official. He flawlessly embodied the image of an American upper-class gentleman, commanding both respect and admiration through the dignity and stature he projected on screen. In stark contrast to the polished image and wide social circles of Ned Atkins, Dennis Patrick's real life unfolded in a quiet solitude that bordered on loneliness. In his later years, after more than 5 decades devoted to Hollywood, he chose to withdraw from public life entirely. Living privately in his Los Angeles home, Dennis found comfort in old memories and absolute seclusion. The tragedy began to take shape as the film industry gradually left him behind under the unforgiving laws of age. The man who once held his own against formidable characters in Dallas and Dark Shadows now faced physical decline and the weight of old age alone, in an empty house where solitude became his only constant companion during life's twilight. Fate dealt its cruelest blow with a tragedy more devastating than any script he had ever performed. On the night of October 13th, 2002, a horrific disaster struck his home on Buffalo Avenue in Sherman Oaks. A sudden fire erupted and quickly engulfed the house, turning a place of refuge into a deadly trap. Amid thick, choking smoke, the once commanding senator was rendered helpless. At 84, the legs that had confidently carried him across Broadway stages were no longer swift enough to outrun death. Firefighters later found Dennis Patrick had succumbed to severe smoke inhalation before the flames reached his body. To die in darkness and panic during a house fire was a devastatingly harsh end for an artist who had lived with discipline, pride, and quiet honor. It is bitterly ironic that a man who spent his life portraying power and control on screen should meet his end through such a sudden and tragic accident. The fire may have taken Dennis Patrick's life, but the artistic legacy he left behind remains undiminished. He will forever be remembered as a master of dignified, principled roles, a performer who lived fully for his craft until his final moments. His legacy endures as a luminous chapter in the history of American television, one that neither time nor loss can ever erase. Connie Needham as Elizabeth Bradford. If Tom Bradford was the soul of the family, then Elizabeth Bradford was its breath of youth. Through Connie Needham's portrayal, Elizabeth emerged with a fresh, luminous beauty, a dreamy, artistic spirit fueled by youthful rebellion and a longing for freedom. Connie became a kindred companion to millions of young women of that era, who saw themselves reflected in Elizabeth's dances and her quiet battles to assert individuality within a crowded household. Behind that vibrant exterior, however, Connie's real life unfolded as a journey marked by fractures and instability. In 1979, at just 19 and at the height of her fame, she rushed into marriage with David Needham, a behind-the-scenes technician. The illusion of a lasting home quickly dissolved under the suffocating pressures of Hollywood and deep differences in life priorities. As the series ended, her acting career slowed, pushing her into a precarious transition. Instead of continuing down red carpets, Connie stepped back to work quietly as a dance instructor, searching for balance after the spotlight had fully turned away. Cracks in her private life and the public's fading attention created a somber pause, an uneasy calm that foreshadowed greater storms ahead. The true nightmare began in 2009, when fate delivered its harshest verdict, a diagnosis of advanced ovarian cancer. The news struck like lightning across what little peace remained in a woman already scarred by loss. No longer the energetic Elizabeth of earlier years, Connie faced the brutal reality of hospital beds, intensive chemotherapy that drained her strength, hair falling away, and searing pain ravaging her body. The deepest anguish came with accepting that this disease, often called a silent killer, could claim her life at any moment. Watching a symbol of youthful beauty wither under malignant cells was a heartbreaking reality for all who had loved her. Though she did not pass away like some of her co-stars, the ordeal left permanent scars on both body and spirit, turning her life into a painful epic of survival at the edge of mortality. Rising above the cruelty of illness, Connie Needham became a symbol of courage. Though she no longer stands beneath the stage lights, her victory over cancer has inspired thousands of women facing similar battles. She left behind not only the beloved image of Elizabeth Bradford, but also a powerful lesson in resilience against adversity. Let us send our words of encouragement and gratitude to this strong woman who proved that even in the darkest hours, hope can still take root. Connie Needham's resilience stands as a rare beam of light amid the many sorrowful chapters of the cast's lives. If her story has given you strength or hope, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel as we continue this journey of remembrance together. Up next, we turn to a male actor who devoted his entire life to the arts, only to be taken from this world by the painful grip of lung cancer. Lani O'Grady as Mary Bradford. Extending the chain of tragedy after the downfall of Susan Richardson, our hearts grow heavy once again as we turn to Lani O'Grady, the actress who portrayed the eldest sister, Mary Bradford. If Susan represented youthful energy, Mary stood as the embodiment of calm intelligence, a medical student who helped keep the Bradford family steady through constant upheaval. Lani brought the role to life with a level of confidence and composure so convincing that audiences came to see Mary as the family's strongest anchor. Yet few could have imagined that the woman who played a healer on screen was carrying the deepest emotional wounds, ones no medicine could ever truly mend. The harsh reality emerged when it became known that Lani had been living with severe panic disorder since the age of 18, just as her career began to reach its peak. Behind Mary's sharp dialogue and resolute gaze was a Lani O'Grady who trembled with fear of crowds and suffered from nameless psychological trauma. Hollywood gave her fame, but in return, it stripped away her most basic sense of peace. To make it through each day on set without collapsing, Lani turned to powerful prescription sedatives. That reliance quietly took hold, trapping her in a relentless cycle, medicating herself to function by day, and medicating herself again at night to escape loneliness, creating a lifelong shadow of addiction that followed her for decades. The tragedy reached its darkest point when both her body and mind finally succumbed to chemical devastation. After years of struggling to recover while being consumed by isolation, Lani gradually withdrew into a private world of darkness. On September 25, 2001, a wave of sorrow swept through fans when her body was found in her apartment in Valencia, California. The autopsy results were truly shocking. She died from a multi-drug overdose with extremely high levels of Vicodin and Prozac in her system. At just 46 years old, the talented actress passed away in chilling solitude, surrounded only by scattered pill bottles, the last companions in her final hours. It is heartbreaking to realize that Mary Bradford, the devoted eldest sister who cared for everyone on screen, met such a lonely and tragic end, with no loved ones beside her. Lani O'Grady's passing left behind an immense void and a painful lesson about the silent suffering hidden behind fame. Though her real life was marked by deep scars, the intelligence and strength she brought to Mary Bradford remain a cherished part of American television history.
And if one of us is hurting and can't tell the other,
Leave a heartfelt tribute in the comments for Lani as a small way to warm the lonely soul she carried, perhaps even beyond this world. Willie Aames as Tommy Bradford. By the late 1970s, the name Willie Aames dominated headlines as a full-fledged pop culture phenomenon. Portraying Tommy Bradford, the fourth son with an artistic soul and a naturally romantic presence, Willie quickly became the ultimate teenage heartthrob of his generation. Audiences were drawn to him not for technical acting prowess, but for the radiant, free-spirited energy of youth he projected in every frame. Tommy Bradford came to embody the sweetest dreams of that era, a symbol of success and irresistible charm in the heart of Hollywood.
A tutor, terrific. I can hardly wait.
Few could have imagined that the crown of idolhood would become a tightening shackle around the young actor's life. When the spotlight faded after each shoot, Willie slipped deeper into loneliness and self-doubt. As fame began to wane, the growing emptiness pushed him toward alcohol as a means of escape. Throughout the 1980s, while the public still clung to the vibrant image of Tommy Bradford, Willie in real life squandered millions on endless binges and a reckless lifestyle. One mistake led to another, and substance dependence wiped out every remaining career opportunity, blacklisting him from Hollywood and driving his marriage to his first wife, Vicki Weatherman, toward collapse. Fate reached its cruelest depths when a man once adored by all of America was forced into homelessness. In his darkest days, Willie Aames was left penniless, sleeping beneath freezing overpasses or hiding in roadside bushes to avoid the gaze of passers-by. The year 2008 marked the most harrowing chapter of his life. After losing his home in Kansas to foreclosure, Willie officially joined the ranks of the homeless. He scavenged through trash bins for food, bathed in gas stations, and even sold off his most prestigious awards just to survive another day. To witness a former top star stripped of dignity, begging on the streets of Los Angeles, was a heartbreaking reality almost too painful to bear. It was the devastating price Hollywood demanded once the lights stopped shining. Rising from the ruins, Willie Aames ultimately wrote a different ending for his life, one shaped by sobriety and extraordinary courage. Though the scars of sleeping beneath bridges remain deeply etched, he now stands as a testament to hope, proof that even from ashes, a person can still be reborn. Don Matheson as Father Robert. Though he was not a central figure appearing in every episode, Don Matheson's presence as Father Robert brought Eight is Enough a rare sense of spiritual depth and quiet serenity. With his tall frame and resolute features softened by compassion, he portrayed a priest who was not only a guide of faith, but also a trusted companion to the Bradford family in their most difficult moments. Don Matheson infused the role with natural calm and dignity, creating a lasting symbol of empathy and understanding on American television. In stark contrast to that fortress-like exterior, Don Matheson's inner world was marked by silent fractures and the pain of personal loss. A Korean War veteran, he carried both iron discipline and unnamed psychological scars from the battlefield. Tragedy struck his private life when his marriage to actress Diana Hyland, his close colleague from Land of the Giants, ended in the late 1970s. The separation became more than a sorrowful chapter. It pushed Don into a withdrawn existence, away from Hollywood's glittering spotlight. In the years that followed, the man once seen as a symbol of strength struggled to regain direction as roles grew scarce and the weight of age slowly closed in on a body already shaped by hardship. The final chapter of Don Matheson's life unfolded as a somber elegy when he was forced to confront an invisible enemy, lung cancer. The cruel disease ravaged his lungs, turning every once effortless breath into a painful fight for survival. In his final days in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, audiences would scarcely recognize the commanding Father Robert they once admired. In his place stood a frail body, worn down by malignant cells. The cruelty peaked when medical treatments could no longer help, leaving him to endure relentless pain and complete physical exhaustion. On June 29, 2014, Don Matheson passed away at the age of 84, closing a life journey that stretched from the brutality of war to the brilliance of the stage. It is deeply tragic that a man who spent his life embodying strength and protection was ultimately taken by illness, his final moments marked by labored breaths and the chilling silence of a hospital room. Though Don Matheson is gone, his integrity and professionalism remain a guiding example for generations to come. His enduring legacy lives on in the quiet sense of peace that Father Robert planted in the hearts of millions of viewers. Michael Toma as Principal Dorsey. Though he appeared only as a supporting character, Michael Toma delivered a memorable portrayal of Principal Dorsey, a model of calm authority, wisdom, and thoughtful guidance for the Bradford children. In his neatly pressed suit and composed manner, he was more than a school administrator on screen. He represented the moral values and quiet patience that parents of the era deeply trusted. Even in brief appearances, his presence became an essential piece in shaping the warm portrait of family-centered education within 8 is Enough. Before stepping onto television sets, Michael Toma devoted much of his youth to Shakespearean theater in Oregon, a demanding world that required intense focus and physical endurance. Tragedy began to surface when persistent, unexplained pain emerged during the height of his television career. Rather than stepping back, Michael chose to conceal his declining health so he could continue teaching and performing. He silently endured sudden bouts of physical weakness, maintaining the dignified composure of Principal Dorsey on screen, while, in reality, his body was slowly betraying him under the assault of a ruthless illness. Heartbreakingly, the final chapter of Michael Toma's life unfolded as a hauntingly cruel script when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer at the age of 55. His battle with the disease was brief yet devastating, reducing a man once filled with theatrical vitality to a state of profound frailty. The suffering intensified in the final months of 1982 as the cancer spread aggressively, robbing him of mobility and the ability to work. Even confined to a hospital bed in Los Angeles, his thoughts remained with the roles left unfinished, a devotion to his craft that is both admirable and heartbreaking. On September 3, 1982, Michael Toma passed away quietly in the hospital, leaving colleagues in shock that he was taken so early, just as his talent and recognition were reaching their fullest expression. Though his passing was quiet, it left an irreplaceable void among theater lovers and television audiences alike. Michael Toma left behind not only finely crafted performances, but also a powerful lesson in professionalism and unwavering love for the art until the very end. While his body has returned to dust, the spirit of Principal Dorsey remains a cherished memory within the world of 8 is Enough. They were once part of our youth, bringing joy and precious family moments to the screen. Today, though those familiar faces have departed this world after lives marked by hardship and loss, their memories continue to live on in our hearts. Take a moment to pay tribute and leave a prayer in the comments. A heartfelt thank you for the immeasurable values and memories they gave us.